G'day, Professor Joseph Drew. Increasingly, I'm seeing in the media that problems are being identified, usually by the media, but sometimes by politicians, and there only seems to be two answers in play. One is new legislation, and one is additional money. I don't believe either of those answers are necessarily the best ones, nor are they sustainable. In this video, I will talk about the problem of legislation, over-legislating, and what it means in a practical sense. And I guess the thing that prompted this video is the recent stories about new legislation to ban children under 16 from using social media. And it raises a lot of questions. It's another law. We have hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of laws in Australia. Will it be effective? How does it become effective? And does making one more law solve the problem? The other thing I was thinking about was all the laws, sometimes rules, about COVID during the COVID crisis. Were they successful? Did they achieve their intent? What did it mean for people and the people's respect for the lawgivers, and the law enforcers? In the next slide, I'll talk about the first big problem posed. The first issue is this: as I said, hundreds of thousands of laws, if not millions of laws in Australia. Do you know them all? I don't. Now, the far majority of laws, I probably don't know them in Australia. And I would imagine every Australian's the same. We probably don't know 98% of the laws. Now, if I don't know about a law, my acting in accordance with the law has absolutely nothing to do with the law. It's mere coincidence. So what has the law actually achieved if I don't know what it is and I was going to behave in that way anyway? So that was certainly the case during COVID. There were so many laws and rules changing by the day, changing by the state, changing by the locality. I didn't know what most of them were most of the time. But as it turned out, by coincidence, I probably was obeying them, because most of them were just common sense and things that a reasonable person would do anyway, because they didn't want to spread a potentially dangerous disease. Now, the second issue I have with millions of laws that we seem to have in Australia is this. Say the person does, by some remarkable stroke of luck, know what the law is. But unlike me, they're the sort of person that's ill-disposed to follow the law. Well, merely knowing the law is not going to change their behaviour in most instances. Those sorts of people, they're not going to follow the laws simply because they somehow stumbled upon the fact that the law exists. Why would they follow the law? They would follow the law because of a threat of a sanction, a fine, jail sentence, whatever. Now, the problem is this. If we're not enforcing the laws, and certainly the police in Tamworth don't seem particularly interested in enforcing most of the laws in the Environment Protection Act, or the speeding laws, or the noise emission laws, roadworthy vehicles, all sorts of laws. Now, if we're not going to enforce those laws, the type of people who are ill-disposed to follow the laws, i.e. the types of people who are disposed to be driving at 150, 200 kilometers per hour past my house, well, if there's no enforcement, they're not going to change their behaviour. So there's two issues at stake here. First of all, do people know the law? And if they do know the law, are you going to enforce it? Because if you're not, there's no point having it. Now, precisely these concerns were espoused by Thomas Aquinas and D'Origine. And he was worried about rulers who made too many laws. He was worried that if people didn't know the laws, or the laws weren't going to be enforced, that they would be pointless in the first instance. He was also worried about unjust laws, and we do have unjust laws from time to time. But most importantly, he was worried about overburdening people with too many laws. And what he said is probably true, that if you overburden people with too many laws, they will over time lose respect for the law, lose respect for the lawgivers, and respect for the law enforcers. Now, I'm not suggesting that we should have those attitudes, but when we're constantly bombarded by hundreds of thousands, if not millions of laws on every minute of our lives, would it be remarkable if people lost respect for it all entirely? I don't think so. So the answer is not always legislation. Nor is the answer always let's throw more money at it. Let's make a new government department. Look, I can only cover one topic in each video. I hope that was insightful for you. I hope you paused and started thinking about all the laws you don't know about, all the laws that aren't enforced, and whether there is any purpose to that at all, and whether we should always go out of our way to make new laws or new bylaws every time we identify a problem. Look, thank you very much for your time. Goodbye.